So would you like to tell people like who you are, where you're from, very Cilla Black kind of style?
Yeah, well, I always said, my name's Matthew and I'm from Middlesbrough. I don't live in Middlesbrough anymore, so I can't use that.
You've gone posh.
I settled down is what I call it, yeah, and had to start spending some of my money, so I live in Stockton now. Not that it's better than Middlesbrough, by the way, just for the audience there. And I always said being from Middlesbrough is a bit like having an ugly sister. I can say what I want about Middlesbrough because I live there, but if you say something bad, I'm going to thump you.
I'm from Liverpool, so I'm not judging anyone.
Yeah, I love Middlesbrough. I love the people. I love the town. I love everything about it, and being there still feels like home for me. So yeah, born and bred in Middlesbrough. Started life in Winniebanks. Dad got a pay rise at the gas board. We could afford to move over the road from Winniebanks into Linthorpe, which wasn't much of a change. And then I started work. I started work at 15. Worked in what was, and this will cue everyone to sing a song. It worked at South Cleveland Garages. And if you know the song, you can tweet me or send me a message on LinkedIn. My mum worked there, so I cleaned cars. And I cleaned cars because my brothers are older than me and their friends are older than me. And they were going to places like Flamingo Land during the 6 weeks holidays, and I couldn't afford to. So I had to find a way that I could earn a couple of quid. I didn't know I'd be working 6 days a week scrubbing cars. So that's where I started off, cleaning cars, and I understood about business and providing customer service. And then I think I had the 6 weeks off. And Mum gave me 10 bob and said, go to town and don't come back without a job. And very coincidentally, the first building I walked into was outside the Henry Balco statue in the Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. And I remember walking in and just looking at this lady who seemed about 400 years old. And I said, excuse me, love, do you do jobs? She went, no, we don't, no. And she didn't say we do apprenticeships or we do training. She said, no, we don't. So I kind of got a bit nervous, as I am obviously a very nervous guy. And I left. And I think it was 27 pence on the bus. So I'd only had 50 pence. So I remember walking to this guy and saying, oh, you couldn't give me or lend, but well, can you give me 5 pence because I need to get the bus home? And this is maybe when you look back and you think about things, this is maybe like a bit of a turning point. He said, oh, yeah, I can do something. What is it? So I told him the story. He said, oh, well, my wife runs the multi-purpose training centre in that corner, which is now Teesside Archives or something a bit cooler now. And he said, go and speak to her. She's called Jill and she'll try and help you with whatever it is you're looking to do. And I had nothing. I left school with fairly average GCSEs. Remember them, GCSEs? We sound like the old ones now.
Nephew got his the other day and it was all grade 9s and grade 8s. Numbers. And I had to Google to figure out what it was.
Yeah, I'd have been around a 6, maybe a 7 at a push. I walked in and this lady, I'll never forget it. You know when you're a child and you step, she had quite a severe cleft palate. And I was like so amazed by this because being a young guy from Middlesbrough, never having really gone out of the town that much, we never could afford to travel as a family and we never really had holidays. I'd only ever seen my close friends and family. And she took me on the first floor. It was administrative duties and it was literally typewriters. I'm giving away my age now. And I said, oh, I don't think that's for me. No, I'm not very good with that. And the second floor was like young guys who looked like they would have tattoos and they were doing joinery and saying, all right, mate. And so I was like, oh, no. Anyway, long story short, the third floor was catering. And there was a lot of ladies in there and there was a lot of cake and 2 things I ideally love. And I decided I was going to be a chef. And I went to work in a restaurant, but they couldn't give me a job as a chef. I could only be a waiter. So I just said, yeah, I'll take it. And it was in the village. And I walked to, and it was Kel's restaurant, still there now. And I started working there. And I'll try and cut a long career fairly short. I won't give you War and Peace. I'd worked in the restaurant for a couple of years and it was nice. And I didn't really have any aspirations to do anything else. I was just mulling away. And a guy who I still speak to today, in fact, I saw last week, said to me, you know what, you'd be great in my gym. You've got great people skills. Do you want to come and work as a fitness instructor? Having never been in the gym, I was like, no, you're all right. He said, oh, look, you can get a bus from Middlesbrough to Stockton and then to Yarm and you can be there every day and I can give you £80 a week, which was mega bucks back then. I was like, wow. So off I went. I became a fitness instructor, got myself healthy, had some clients. It was called Yarm Fitness World. It was run by a guy called Mike Flanagan and his brother Sean. And what an amazing place to be. Yarm as an 18-year-old guy and as a fitness instructor. And I think that's where my confidence grew. I was used to chatting to people. And yeah, it was a real comfort zone. The gym got into trouble through crisis and various different reasons. And I went to work in a call center at Churchill Insurance. And again, people, speaking to people, talking, you get the theme running through this. It did really well. I look back now and think, God, we earned some really good money sat on our backsides in a call center. Good people culture, great business to work for. Got taken over by, I think they were owned by Credit Suisse, and then got taken over by Direct Line's owner. And things started to change, and I decided I wanted to change with it. And I went and sold foreign property in Bulgaria and Cyprus, which again sounds really cool, doesn't it? Far from it. A lot of language issues, a lot of expats potentially being ripped off. Didn't sort of sit comfortable with me. And after 6 months, I kind of stopped doing that and went and worked for a company that many might know called Equity House Own and Save. So I remember the right to buy that Margaret Thatcher introduced. So I had a team of staff knocking doors and trying to convince people in council estates that it was better to buy and own the house than it was to pay the rent. A relatively successful sort of scheme that's seen a lot of people now own the home and accelerate that home on a ladder. So yeah, that was again 2002. I think the market's got a difficulty. We had 110 staff. I was, apart from family members, I was probably one of the last staff there. And then I was made redundant. And at this point, I really kind of got into a pit of kind of, oh God, what am I going to do? And who's here to help me? And no real father figure in the life at the time. Parents were divorced. Mum worked 4 jobs. I was still living at home. Things were tough, and you can't go along in our family without a job. So off I went, recruiting agencies and God knows whatever else. And so we're going back probably near enough 20 years now. And at this point, I decided that whilst I wanted to be in sales, I didn't want to be a salesperson. I didn't want to knock doors. I didn't want to badger people. I didn't want to do it the wrong way. So I started to learn about kind of the psychology in sales and how people get befriended, and actually read a lot into, and this sounds really bad, into sort of con artists and how they, which is a multi-billion pound business, and how they would persuade people with suggestions and the way. So anyway, I then went and I worked for a great business in Stokesay called, well, it was part of the MMC group, the McCullough family. 3 brothers, fantastic people, all had their own individual businesses. And I worked for Tim McCullough, who taught me an awful lot about business, allowed me to see the insides of a business, so understand how they work, how their finances would, how they'd have to gamble a little bit almost to make some money. And I worked for them for probably 2.5 to 3 years, and it was a real blessing, a good fun job. We got to travel quite a bit. We went to Vegas. We had some good times, and we sold some good products. It ended up being bought up by a bigger business in America. And then I went into recruitment, which is probably around the time that we kind of met, because I worked in recruitment before I went to the chamber for manpower. And I absolutely hated every minute of it. Every minute of that job I hated, apart from a guy called Matthew Bennett who I worked with who I still keep in touch with now. He was a great guy, so much fun we had. And we had to have fun because the market was terrible. The automotive crash had happened. I was trying to sell mechanics in Middlesbrough. It was desperate times, but fun times. Ultimately, that branch shut, and I was again on the hunt. LinkedIn was becoming a thing. About then wasn't what it was. It was just for recruiters, I think, at the time. And I posted on there saying I was looking and would anybody be interested in this dodgy bloke from Middlesbrough to come and do something with them. And it was actually Joe Hand that got me the job. And many of you know Joe Hand. I still keep in touch with her now. And, it was difficult. And I actually accepted the job at a company in Stokesay. And Joe rang me and said, "Oh, there's a great job going to the Chamber of Commerce, Matt. I think you'd be perfect for it." And she didn't have a lot of details at the time. It was kind of like, "Well, I can go. I'm there today, but I'm just in jeans and a t-shirt. Would that be kind of acceptable?" And I went in and did the interview, and I just said, "Can you offer me the job? Can I have the job? I think I'd be great at it." And just looked her dead in the eyes. And Julie Underwood, I remember her looking at me thinking, "Well." And afterwards she said, "I would offer you the job now, but I've got to go through a HR process." And still really that kind of cheeky kind of guy that would ask questions that no one else would ask, but in a way a bit like Louis Theroux, in a way that I got away with it, in a way that was kind of just me and nobody took offense from it. And I got the job, and I was delighted. I was really proud to work for the Chamber of Commerce, and I had 5 really, really good years there. We started from nothing in terms of what I was doing, and we were looking for the region's exporters. So people in the Northeast who were moving goods, physically moving goods. So there was always a playoff between the digital sector who said, we're exporting. And we said, well, you are, yeah, but not the same as these guys. They've got to look at Incoterms, commodity codes, they're dealing on letters of credit. They've got to physically move the goods. It's a different kind of game. And I absolutely loved it. And I think I thrived there. I was, James Ramsbotham was a real good friend to me now and was there and gave me the backing just to go out and do it. And I think he believed in me. He knew I could do it. And we knocked the socks off it. And it got to the point where that's where we met. And you were saying, well, how do you do this networking, Matt? I said, well, you've got to understand, I'm practically paid to network. This is my full-time job. You've got a job to do and you've got a network. So it was very different from, and I think at the time, Emily Bentley and I had just kind of met. And we were, I don't want to say it myself, but people have said it, that we were like the most prolific networkers.
I remember I said that to you because basically when was it? It was when, so I was at Nortec, if you fast forward a few years, and what I'm very good at is learning, and I watch and I see who does what and that kind of thing. I remember, I think I actually told you both, like I'm very good online and doing certain things, but you and Emily Bentley, and actually Emily's a guest in 2 weeks, I think. But anyway, but actually you two were and probably still are the best in-person networkers I'd ever seen. So I was genuinely kind of watching what you did, how you did it, what your approach was. And it's, again, because you're both very natural, I think is the difference between people that don't like doing it. But can I also say that was the single longest monologue I've ever had in 26 interviews.
Yes.
Where you just didn't stop talking. But again, it's fun, but you've got a good story to tell. And just
finished.
But on the point when you were going back, if you remember when you were telling me about school, and part of the reason why I wanted to do this and do it in different ways is because you have lots of different people from different backgrounds who are from the Northeast that they might not always have visibility on successful business people that come from the same place they do. Does that make sense? Yeah, so absolutely. There'll be people from 2 weeks ago who got GCSE results, which maybe they're not happy with. And they might think, oh, what I'm going to do now. As we're actually, there's a very vague chance, oh, actually, there's that Matt guy and he did that and he did this, and I can talk to people. And that's one of the reasons why I'm always keen to kind of share people's real story, because actually there are people that need to hear it.
100%. I mean, I'm big with careers at the moment. I do some stuff with the leadership and advisory board at Stockton Riverside in terms of logistics. I'm just about to start with Egglescliffe Comp as a governor there, because my advice is totally different. And sometimes the schools don't want to hear it, but you don't have to be good at everything. And I can look at a kid of 14, 15-year-old and say, you would be great at this, and actually try and harness that rather than worrying about the really, really intelligent kid who's got straight A's or whatever they call them now, 10. And I think I can help with their kind of life path, for want of a better word. Just saying, don't worry, it didn't come to me until I got to maybe late 20s. I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. So don't try and worry. I didn't do great at school, but I always had the ability to talk to people, to open doors and to engage. But
that's what your, obviously just one of your strengths is. So like my nephew that I mentioned got like straight A's kind of thing, but all he does is play Minecraft. And now I'm thinking, I said to them, okay, but you need to get into the real world, get yourself into some trouble. And it's just, and actually with my wife, because we're both working class background, we genuinely talk about how different schools teach you different things. So now that you're all rich and famous, I'm sure your kids might go to private school. But even if they do or they don't, my take on it was almost that if you send your kids to private school, please disagree in the chat if you disagree, you have a higher percentage chance of getting higher grades. I think that's what you get in private school, but you're probably less likely to learn what I class as real world skills, where people get into scrapes, they get into trouble, how you deal with people, how not to grass people up. And it's those kind of things which actually, once you've 4 or 5 years into your career, you've got your technical skill, it's your people skills and your ability to talk to people is actually what will probably see people go to different levels. So I think there's definitely pros and cons for different kind of paths in life.
Yeah, I don't want to say I favour one or the other, but Nancy won't be going to a private school, and that isn't because I don't agree with private schools, because it's bloody expensive. I'm joking. But I've got people we work with. I've got young people and old people that have got private schools. People have got normal schools. And you're right; they've just got different skill sets. They're just different types of people, and you need that in business. We're going through a bit of a culture change, and we're looking to kind of invest in our people more. And I love all that. I love it all because I've got both sides of the story to kind of share and look at.